Hello. I wanted to talk to you guys today about building your client closet because it's important. If you are a photographer who has a niche, like something that you specialize in, like for me, I specialize in editorial portraits and headshots. Also specialize in maternity, but I do a lot of fabric draping for that. But this comes in handy for maternity too. So if you are somewhat niched down to something where you could build a client closet without feeling too overwhelmed in too many different directions, or you could just be like me and, have every style for every kind of shoot ever if you've got the space to, stuff it all in here. But I just wanted to quickly touch on client closet essentials. So if you're a photographer and you're shooting headshots, or you're shooting editorial work, or you're shooting portraits, or even honestly, sometimes family sessions, depending on the vibe that they're going for, having client closet options for your clients it's a game changer. It makes them trust you more. It makes them even more willing to book you because that's less money they have to spend, because you have outfits that they could use already. So I just wanted to touch quickly on what I feel like is my most essential client closet piece, and that is the classic black suit. So as you can see, I have built my collection over time, and it doesn't have to cost $1 million. I literally built this client closet over the course of a couple of years by thrifting and secondhand fashion, like Poshmark. Oh gosh, there's a million other ones. I'm drawing a blank right now, but you know what I mean? Like resale places for clothing. I'm very big on sustainable fashion. So I like to kind of give back to the world rather than like add more junk to it. So I have been building my blacks and my whites as far as suits go for the last 2 to 3 years. And this is what I've come up with. So it does not have to be expensive. I literally thrifted the majority of these blazers and slacks for like $5.99, $6.99 per piece. So it does not have to be expensive. So I just figured I'd go through with you guys like essentially what I'm looking for when I'm out thrifting or on Poshmark or anything like that. So my number one thing is like a more vintage retro kind of suit, something that has like stronger shoulders and like a higher vintage waistline. High-waisted slacks always typically work better for flattering all body types because they hold in our mom tummy, and even, for maternity, they might be left open, but it's still nice to have the higher waist because it makes our high waist look smaller and it makes our legs look longer. Whereas lower rise slacks let the tum spill over a little bit, and they also make the torso look longer and the legs look shorter, which is not what we want. We want to have really long legs and we want to have a really tiny waist. So high waist slacks are my favorite, and you can find them all day long if you're looking for vintage styles at the thrift stores. So I go to Goodwill and some other local thrift stores around here, but the majority of these are from Goodwill because they have the best like old vintage blazers. And I don't mean like crazy wacky ugly vintage. Like for instance, when I say vintage, let me find one of my most favorite ones. So this is a vintage blazer, and I love the detail of how it cuts out at the bottom. And like you'll see these like on Balmain, like these like crazy like expensive designers have this style because it's just like a nod to retro, a nod to vintage. But the lapels are super beautiful. It's got a padded shoulder, it's got the cutout, it's got the double-breasted buttons. I thrifted this at Goodwill for $5.99. So it does not have to be expensive. And this is worn by probably 50% of the shoots that, like 50% of the client that you've seen shoots on my site. But anyway, so this is what I mean when I say vintage, not anything crazy patterns or like 50s, like to where you can't make it modern. So this is one of my favorite blazers, and I always keep rubber bands in the sleeves because we typically will scrunch them up just to modernize it a little bit. So you can take any black blazer and pair it with any black slack. So you can create a custom suit for your client just by mixing and matching top and bottom. So you don't have to go looking for full suits because they're harder to find. But if you just stick to one color scheme, like all black or all white, you can build your closet that way and have something that will fit any client that walks in your door. So those are the kind of blazers that I look for. And I mean, even just regular blazers too. Like this is just an Antonio Milani blazer, but again, like really nice structure, just looks really nice. The tailored look, it just looks more expensive. It looks more editorial. So you can find blazers like that all day long. I thrifted that one as well at Goodwill for like $5 or $6. And then the other thing that I do is I thrift for the slacks. So this is a vintage slack, probably from the 80s or early 90s. This particular one is Petite Sophisticate, which is one of my favorite vintage brands. But let me just show you what they look like so you can kind of get an idea. I love these pants. Aren't they fun? Ugh, I've been loving color all summer. Anyway, so this is the slacks. So this is my favorite style of slack. And if you look on Pinterest, if you look at all the influencers right now, they are all wearing these pants and they're spending like hundreds of dollars to buy them from like big websites, you know, big designers. You can find this style of pleated high waist trouser all day long at the thrift. I thrifted these at the Goodwill for like $6. So they've got the beautiful pleating. You always want to look for slacks that have pleating because it helps kind of conceal the lower belly area if you need to, if your client doesn't have a super toned tummy. It kind of camouflages that a little bit and again accentuates the high waist, and it's got room in the thighs and the butt so it can fit like different body types. And then I get these in bigger sizes, and then I literally just safety pin the back of it so it can fit multiple sizes for your clients, because in photography it doesn't have to fit perfectly if you can pin it and tweak it in the back of them where it's not going to be shown in the photo shoot. So vintage high waist pleated trousers are like my go-to. So I literally have like over 20 pairs of pants like this, and I just have them in a bunch of different sizes, and then we just pin them when needed, you know, depending on length needed and all that. But I just thrifted a bunch of different pairs of black slacks, a bunch of different black blazers in different sizes, and then I'm able to just mix and match them to fit every single client's body, because everybody's got a different body type. Some are pear-shaped, you know, some don't have any curves at all, and they're just very tall but very thin. So there's a lot of different body types, and suits, I can't say this enough, suits work for everyone, for everyone, for everyone. Like, I'm not even kidding, like for everyone. I just had a client in here recently, and we were planning her session beforehand, and I kept telling her, like, all these looks that you love, they're all suits. So just come in and let's do a suit. And she was like, oh, I just have such a weird body type. You're not going to have a suit that fits me. It's not going to work. So I was like, just trust me. She came into her session that day. I pulled out a few different things and we found something to fit her perfectly. And she was right. I mean, she didn't have a normal body type, and it does not matter. That's the point. These can be tweaked and pinned, and the hems can be folded under and pinned. We can make anything work. So my advice to you is to build your client closet and start with black. Black is the color that shadows out the best, makes us all feel better. Black is most of our comfort zone. And it looks really sleek. It looks really timeless. You know, 20 years from now, they could be using their pictures and they're not going to be out of style, because a classic black suit is never going to go out of style. And even if you're just pairing a black blazer with jeans and a top that they come in with for like a more casual headshot kind of session, it's still a beautiful option for your clients, even just to add a vintage blazer onto them. So do yourself a favor and just start building your client closet. Start with black. It's what everybody feels best in, and it conceals the most imperfections. So white emphasizes imperfections, black conceals imperfections. So definitely start with black and just get as many blazers and slacks in as many different styles as you can, and then you can just mix and match them. And then sometimes we'll even pair like a black blazer with black leather leggings. So it's still very versatile what you can do with it. But if you just have an entire rack of black, they're going to find something that can work for them for their shoot. So that was my advice for today. Start building your client closet. Your clients will thank you. You'll thank yourself, because you'll have more control over what they wear, which means you have more control over how amazing the shoots turn out, because you're using items that you know will photograph beautifully instead of trusting your client to find something that will photograph as well as something you could have picked for them. So build your client closet, start in black, go thrifting.